Onegaishimasu. Good evening, Rusty McMains again. Tonight we're going to cover the hands portion, performance of GekiSai Daiichi and GekiSai Dai Ni. Always keep in mind that these katas are intended to be simplistic and not, it's what you do with your training that makes your kata become what it is. So always, again, as I've said before, when I practice, I always have an intent in mind. What is it I'm focusing on with my techniques? So if we understand the word kihon, the basics of our karate, most people think of kihon as being a block, a punch, the stances. Those are the kihon. But they're not the fundamentals, not in my opinion. The way I look at it is, it's the inside components, where the arm rotates, the rubbing of the body. These are the kihon of the technique. Taguchi had a book out on kata, and in the book, and it was the basics. I believe it's the green book. If you see Taguchi's book, and he talks about the kata of goju-ryu. In his, I thought I found it very interesting because as he go through the pictures, this would be kata number 1. This was kata number 2. This was kata number 3. So for most people, kata means the entire form, several techniques within a pattern. So I began to think, well, if he's referring to this as a kata, it would not have the same intent, that it's multiple movements, multiple techniques in a pattern. This is a pattern. This itself is a kata. So that made me think that I have to explore and study each part of that technique, of that kata. And then basically a kata would be many katas. So that really opens up the idea of your martial studies, your martial art, your martial science. It's a study. So we're going to focus on several things tonight. We're going to go through the form itself, and then we're going to come back and talk about a few training ideas. Number 1, we're going to talk about rubbing and what I call skinning. That's where your muchimi comes in. Always keeping the elbows lower than the fist on the chambered hand. Don't roll your elbows out. So what I mean by don't let your elbows roll out here. Don't let your elbows roll up when you're doing your high blocks. Use your hinges. Let the arms move naturally. Here, this is a hinge. This is a hinge. This is a hinge. And then protect your center line. So as we go through that, and then we'll get into a few other training ideas that I've come up with that really help my students. One is the box, the wall, clear a path, and walk the talk. So these help the students focus on their training instead of just doing the kata. Understand it, focus on it, and that way you'll take those same principles. You learn a new kata, guess what? You apply the same exact concepts. So now let's just walk through the kata, just the hand techniques, starting from our yoi position. Let's do that from the side. Okay, so going back, you can watch this several times. You can fast forward it. I like doing it slow. That gives you the opportunity to pass it up or to follow up with it. I like to, when I work on this, break it into 3 sections or several sections. 1, 2, 3. That's section number 1. Then the other side. 1, 2, 3. Section number 2. Section number 3. 1, 2, 3. Now here in the kata there would be a kick. We're going to leave the kick out for now and just go right to the hands. Next section. 1, 2, 3. We're going to finish with a 4th count. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finish here. And then here. 1 and 2. Okay, so now let's get into a few ideas here. So let's go back and look at protect center line. So every technique that I do, the first thing I do is I protect center line. As a fighter, when you're from judo, jiu-jitsu, grappling, sparring, most techniques come to this area. Okay, unless you don't find too much where they're going to punch it down here unless they're kicking. But this is generally the area of attack. So again, here's my box, when we were talking about earlier. Here's my box. So I defend and work within this framework. So just like we start here on middle block, this is the framework that I keep. So I have my box. So everything that I do, I work there. So again, I want to protect that center line. So first technique, protect that center line and block. This framework right here is very important. You don't want your elbow out here. Your elbow, if you took middle block and could draw a straight line up, you want that elbow in that same plane as the middle block. Don't want your elbow out here. I tell my students too, if while you're practicing this and you have a gi on, if your sleeve kind of covers your eye, your sight, you're probably doing it right. If the elbow is straight, you're not going to have the structure of the shoulder. And you can try that if you get a partner, put the arm up here, get it straight, have them try to pull it down or push it right to left or push it back, and they're going to succeed. But if you bring that in to where the elbow is slightly inside the shoulder, now again, we've lined the correct posture of the body. Everything is where it's supposed to be. So you have to check it out. Again, it's important that you check your karate, have someone test you. That's how, again, you begin to respect your technique. So first one here, protect that center line. Boom. So you notice here, here's my wrist, here's my elbow, my face is right in the middle of that center line. I don't want it over here. Okay, what I call the turkey leg. If I were going to have a hard block, I want to block with that turkey leg. I want to block with the thin part of my arm. Now what do? As I bring this hand down, I'm still protecting. Here comes that punch. I'm still protecting that center line. Now from here, bring the hand inside. Bring the elbow over, let it fall, then finish the block. Bring the hand up, protect your center line. Boom, look, there I am. There's my structure again. Drop this straight down, almost like you're going to do a middle block. Then punch. Bring your elbow, center line. Block. Elbow, center line. Block. Elbow, center line. Somebody's punching, I'm using my arm to block. I'm not going to block here, I'm going to use the arm. Block. Now, here comes that punch to my face. Boom. So I don't think of this so much as an upward elbow, but as a forward elbow. If I punch, this position of my arm is the same. So where you see this as a circular motion, just bring your elbow straight forward. It's the same position as your punch. So I look at this as more of a punch with the short elbow. Again, I'm in close quarter combat. So it's a strike with the elbow. You can also be somebody throwing a haymaker punch. Block that head. I wouldn't want my elbow sticking out here. Keep this inside. Look where my elbow's at. Same place it was here. Same place it was here. So I have that consistency of protecting myself. Now, don't back fist from here because look where your fist is going to be. I want to drop that elbow, then strike. Then just let the arm drop straight down and then roll at the very end. Here, I begin to pull in and punch. Now the punching hand, what do? I protect that center line. Now don't push this way, push the whole forearm out and it'll naturally roll. Bring this in, protect that center line. Same thing we did earlier. Bring this elbow. I'm always following this contour of my body. There's my back fist. Now again, if I don't drop that elbow, look where my fist is at. Just drop it a little bit. Back fist. Drop the whole arm down. Don't go this route for this block. You've already hit, you do this, that's where you would get hit. Again, that's my interpretation. Me, because I'm a fighter. That's everything to me for my kata, goes right back to practical fighting. So elbow in, back fist, drop this, pull, punch, cover, push the forearm out, let it roll, bring this forward. Now, it's real common, you'll see people do this. So keep that elbow down. This has a natural roll up, and this is going downward somewhat. So I'm not, this, in this, you'll see this. Have this, I like to think of this too, if somebody's punching in, this hand's blocking and this hand's punching over. Give it an intent. Doesn't matter, as long, really what you're doing, as long as you give it something that when I'm looking at the kata as the instructor, watching you, I want to see that there's something behind it. And then we can always go back and figure out, does it actually work or not? So again, once from here, bring it in, keeping that shoulder down. Notice my elbow's in the same place, not out here. Pull back. Watch this, make sure this is low. Bringing forward, arms follow the body. Roll this over. I bring this hand in and grip and push out. So I get a yin and yang effect. Let it slide back. Good, keeping those shoulders nice and square. Slide forward for the strike. Open the hand. Now don't roll this hand. Turn the whole arm in, just like we did when we were doing San Chin. Roll this in. Bring this back this way, keeping those elbows in. As the arms drop, let that other hand open. So take your middle knuckle, put it right on that pad, and then come on down. And then hands back to your side. Now, understanding this framework, think of a plane, a nice straight wall. This is really important to videotape yourself doing your kata, because you don't really get a chance to look at yourself from this angle. So if you videotape yourself doing your kata, you can go back and look, because you don't want just this framework. You want to understand this framework. So as I bring this hand up, I've got a nice, here's my framework. I don't want this back this way. I've lost a technique. And then I use this as my guide. And it keeps straight up. You don't want your arm back this way. Slightly forward. Drop the elbow down. Punch. Bring this arm in. So now this hand's out here. You can't do this, so you bring it out of the way and let this arm slide down that arm. Bring the other hand up. Set that gauge. Same thing here, block. Punch, low block. And from here, bring us in. Block. Block. Elbow. So this should be parallel to the floor. This would be almost in the same position if you were doing middle punch. Don't come up too high. Keep this and the shoulder down. Drop that back fist, drop that elbow so it lines that fist up with that chin. So keep in mind, when you're doing your kata, you're doing it with someone similar to you. You're not doing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and hitting up here. So from here, drop that elbow so that that fist lines up with that fist. You want a nice softness. And just let the whole thing drop. as I'm turning, I'm pulling this shoulder and this elbow back, turns my body. Here. Make sure you squeeze this back. Bring this inside again. Pull. There's that fist. It'd be in the same position if I was doing a middle punch. Drop that hinge, strike, drop it again, punch, push, come forward, pull back, punch, step, pull, punch, open the hand, turn in, down. Now, let's go back and look at a couple of other ideas. So when I talk about rubbing and skinning, I like, as my arms are rubbing, I think about one hand, either, doesn't make a difference how you do it, is a knife, and I'm skinning myself. I'm skinning the arm off my arm, skinning it, skinning it. So not just rubbing, but I want to just shave that arm, shave the skin, skin it, skin it, skin it. Okay, so it's a nice easy skin. Keeping those elbows lower, and again, most important, when you're doing this high block, don't let that elbow roll out. You just lost structure in your shoulder. Make sure that elbow stays up. This is, when I teach San Chin, this is a very important aspect, not to roll, get my elbows down. Turn the hand over. So while you're practicing San Chin or a punch, put this hand underneath it where you can feel your elbows right there, and then turn that hand over. You shouldn't feel your arm rolled out. You just see how I just lost the structure of it. I want this structure here. So same thing goes, when you roll this up, don't let that shoulder roll. Let it roll just as if you were doing a punch here, so that that elbow stays down and relaxed. I have a book, it's a photocopy. Seiyo Ayada reproduced it. It was Choku Motobu, and he refers to a high block as if you're reaching up to grab one of those lights where it has the little string on it, where you pull it. So if you were to reach up and put, that's just a natural formation. So it's also curious in that book that for the word block, they actually use the word break, B-R-A-K-E, which I found interesting. So it's the idea that it's not blocking as much as it's stopping the attack. Okay, so let's go back. So protect that center line, use those hinges. Now, let's go to clear a path. This one works really good with this kata. So if I'm starting from a regular position, what's the first thing I do? Is I clear a path. Look, there it is. So now my fist follows right there. So what do? I clear a path. Clear my path. Clear my path. Clear my path. Clear it. Make way for this hand. Make way for the other hand. Okay? Now I don't want to go here, look where my body's at. So I come into there. What do? I clear that path. Push. Clear that path. Push. Push it out. It'll clear that path. Now, we have clear the path, and we have, again, I have that box. So here's my box. That's the width of my box. I want to stay inside my box. So once I come here, see all my techniques are working with inside that box. I don't start my technique until I'm inside that box. Inside that box. Inside the box. Inside that box. And that'll help keep your technique clean and clear. Think again, if I'm fighting, I don't want my hands moving. I want everything working inside, nice and tight. Don't want to bring the hand out. Say if I was going to do a hook punch, I want to keep everything short. Work inside that box. clear the path, the box. Now, this is a really good time to focus on your back structure. So if you'll think before when you start, you got your back against the wall. That will help you keep that body nice and straight instead of just leaning over. Put that back against the wall. Now, there's a wall right here. So as I go to do my block, I make sure I go right up that wall. Now I have instead of a wall, it's this way. Look, here's my wall. So again, I'm working within that box frame. So those ideas are natural to everybody in the world. So it helps you, again, take something that's not natural and bring it into your natural world. So you begin to give it purpose. You don't have to redefine the technique. It begins to become very specific for you. Walk the talk is a really nice way. When I'm walking, there's a nice little school not too far from here that has a nice little running track where I've done some of the filming. And what I'm doing as I'm walking, and I walk the talk as I'm walking, I'm just sitting here just doing my kata, just walking and just doing all my katas. Between here and there, I probably do all my katas just like that. So just like you're walking and talking, you don't have to think about it. It's not like, walking and chewing gum. Okay? So do your katas. Just sit there and walk around the house and just do your kata. And you'll find that this will help you. If you get to a place where you screw it up, that's perfect. You just identified where you need to work. Why isn't it connecting? Go back and figure it out. So don't worry about it. But that's walk that talk. Do your katas all the way from GekiSai that each all the way to Super Denpei or whatever high level kata that you know. So if I'm walking and I'm just doing my kata, then I just do my kata all the way through. Just do the kata. So those are all kind of little things that help you become better ingrained, more relaxed, and you begin to own your kata a little bit more. Now, if we go to GekiSai Daini, the framework of the kata is basically the same. The difference is when we get into the mawashi uke, the circular block, and the toraguchi. So we're not going to focus on the turning of toraguchi and that for the nekowashi dachi, which is extremely important in this kata. But what we're going to do now is just focus on those two areas of where we now go do where the kata changes from GekiSai Reishi to GekiSai Ni. So we start from this area here. Bring that elbow in again. Focus on that thumb. Skin. Bring this elbow in. All I did was middle block. Clear that path. Forward. Don't come this way. Look at what happened. My elbow rolled out. In. Clear a path. So I'm not making a big circle this way. Here it is. There's my natural circle. So see, this is a small circle. Don't focus here. It's the elbow that you're moving. Move the elbow. So from here, bring this in. Make sure there's lots of wrinkles behind your hand. I like to take my fingers and push them back towards me here too. So if you're doing this kata and you're not feeling that burn in your forearm and your wrist, you know you're not doing it right. From Shuttle G, inside. Clear that path. There it is right there. What am I doing? See, I'm skinning. Block. Elbow in. Clear that path. Here comes that punch. I'm blocking with the forearm. Grab. Grab. Here. Bring this in. Clear that path. 1, 2, 3. Close the hands. Pull in. Back fist. Drop it. Punch. Back to this motion here. Shuttle G. Now, look at this angle of this arm. All I have to do is bring this in. This hand comes straight across. And just rest right in front. From here, bring your hand across. Let this slide up. Turn both over. Notice the elbows lower than my hand. Elbows lower than my hand. Pull back. Be conscious here that you're not this way. A lot of times people pull this hand up, let it come in a natural position. And then again, don't separate your hands. So don't do this. Just push straight forward. Just the rotation of that shoulder and pulling back those fingers will place that right where it needs to be. So from Shuttle G, bring this in, concentrating on that thumb, clear that path, skin those arms, rub, muchimi, clear that path, pull, there's that elbow, drop that hinge enough to hit that face, drop that hand for this, pull it back for your punch, Shuttle G. So if you look here, I like to think of a 45-degree angle for both. Push out, slide this straight in. Come across here. Pull back, press. Boom, look how easy and simple. Clear that path. Boom. Pull back, press. Both hands come down, and then finish the kata. Now, let's take from this part of the kata. This is the first Shuttle G. So in the kata, I would be here, and then I would turn into it. So here, bring this in. This is what person's punching. I want to hit him with that. Think of hitting with the elbow or blocking with the turkey leg. Here, clear the path, block. You see my nice wall? So I'm not going out here, right up that wall. If you want to get against a wall and practice this, that's how I used to practice it. That's how I learned it. The wall doesn't lie. Inside, block, clear my path, block, clear my path, grabbing, drop that hinge again, punch, out, boom, clear that path, drop. I'm in the same position if I was doing middle block. Now look, right here, between this arm and this arm, I have a nice straight line. So I'm not down here. A lot of times you see people and they bring it way down here. This is the middle block. So don't drop your hand, that you're finished. It drops when you pull your arms back. You don't want to drop this down here because then you're pulling it up and that's going to, so if I come here and I drop this and I pull this, it's going to raise my shoulder. So the block is right there. That's it. So again, if you look in this angle, this arm, the angle of this arm and this arm matches. Again from here, bring this in, clear your path, block, clear your path, block using that wall. One more time, grab, elbow, drop that hinge, back fist, drop it again, punch, Shuttle G. Bring this in front, not underneath, in front. Clear your path, drop. Pull, press, and hands come in here. Now, I've found for me, if I practice the kata and I focus on just one part, I get it better. I understand it better. I memorize it better. It also helps to talk. I've taught my kids when they're doing their katas and when they're practicing, talk to yourself. What am I doing? Clear my path. Rub, wrinkles. And you'll hear them as they're doing their katas. Clear a path. Pointer, box, wall. Remember Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off? Okay, so it wasn't just the motion that helped Daniel, it's that he had something to force against. So get against the wall. Practice your technique. This way and this way. Keep these things in mind. The rubbing and skinning, that's probably the most, when I started going to Canada back in the mid-90s, and I began to teach them a little bit of goju and martial science, which are to me are all the one and the same. The rubbing, the muchimi was hard. The next time I went back, about every 4 feet was a sign at different levels that said rub, rub, rub. It was on those walls, it was on this wall. So no matter where you turned, you saw the word rub. Brilliant. Keep the things in mind. The box, the wall. Clear that path. Walk the talk. Anything that'll help you better practice. Otherwise, it just gets boring. So if it's boring, you're likely not going to do it. And what I've found is I start working on something, and before too long, it's an hour. Wow, where'd the time go? And a lot of times that happens in class. Now I look up, oh, it's time to go. And everybody goes, already? Yes, because what it is, they were very focused. And they were a part of the technique, not just doing the technique. So now that we've gone through the hands portion, as soon as the weather clears up and I can go back outside, and they open up the parks, they're closed this weekend because of the virus and keeping everybody inside. We'll get outside and we'll do the stances on this. Well, we do a lot of the same principles when we do our stances. We still work within that box, the wall, clearing a path. There's a few other little principles that I like to put in there because they paint a picture for someone. Visualization is very, very important. It brings it and it gives it ownership to you. I hope this video is informative, it's useful. Again, I'm not trying to tell anybody that this is the best way or the only way. You may not like it. If it helps you, great, that's the whole intent. Anything that will help my students practice more, because they'll only get better if they practice more. And the one thing I always tell my students, the whole idea about practicing is to make it easier to identify the mistakes so we can go fix it. That's one of the cool things about karate class is you want your instructor to fix it for you. Unlike, the kids don't tell their parents, mom and daddy corrected me. They don't tell the teachers, teacher corrected me, they hate it. In karate, they come up to me, sensei, what do I need to do to make my kata better? So we're no different as black belts, whether you're a first degree black belt or 9,000 degree black belt. We have to give her something that functions us, that inspires us, something different, a different way of looking at it. Don't look out the same window every single day. Sometimes go outside and look in the window. You get a whole different perspective of what you're looking at. I hope this was fun and informative for you. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you very much. どうもありがとうございました。